Hello and welcome back to Holt Hanley Weather. There's a lot going on in today's forecast video, so let's just dive right in. Here we're looking at the total accumulated precip for the southeast by this Saturday. Remember, there's already a ton of locations in this area that are already flooded, especially along the Pearl River Basin, which is right about here. There is historic flooding right there. Yesterday, Arkansas had 4 cities get the most rainfall they've ever had, record rainfall. And as you can see, by Saturday, there's even more on the way. 2 to maybe 3-4 inches in some places, which is just not what we need. So let's take a look at the big picture, what's going on. You see that rain still over basically the entire southeast. And it's really a bummer this is happening because Wednesday was supposed to be their off day. Just yesterday, the forecast models were showing a nice break in the rainfall. Maybe some of those rivers could go back down. Maybe some recovery could happen. But unfortunately, that is not what's going on. You can see some really heavy rainfall going from Alabama up to North Carolina. And that snow is exiting the northeast. And the rain pretty much sticks around all Wednesday, even though it was not supposed to. And then on Thursday morning, some really strong rainfall starts to show up towards eastern Texas, and it combines with this snowstorm moving through Oklahoma. And what that does, it brings in a lot of energy, and we get even heavier rainfall for the southeast Thursday and Friday. And then that finally moves off. So that first map I showed you with the total accumulated precip, most of that is going to be coming on Thursday and Friday. And then luckily that one's gone, and we get a little break going through Saturday and Sunday before another rainstorm comes and hits on Monday. I'll keep you guys updated on that one as well. Right now, let's look at the exact timing and rates of some of this rainfall that's going to be going into the southeast. Here you see, like I said, supposed to be the off day. There's rain basically covering the entire region, especially in this border between Alabama and Georgia. Really heavy rates. That's maybe 0.5 inches per hour. But the real problem, like I said, is the Pearl River Basin going right up the middle of Mississippi. That already has, I think it was maybe 5 locations along the Pearl River that have major flooding. So when they get more rain, they can't take any more. The soil's already completely saturated, so any rain that falls just increases the flooding. Moving through, you see the rates got a little lighter throughout Wednesday, not gone though. And then that ominous dark yellow to orange starts showing back up early Thursday morning on the western side of Louisiana. By Thursday at about 7 a.m., Louisiana is getting heavy rates, some freezing rain up into Arkansas, and then those rates move through Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. One interesting thing we're going to look at later is you can see there's some snow up above Georgia and South Carolina. That actually might be hitting North Carolina and Virginia, so we'll take a look at that in a minute. So you see that is gone basically by Friday at about 1 in the morning. That finally moves off and you get a little bit of a break. And that break lasts pretty much all Saturday, which is good. The high moves in all Sunday, which is good. And then that next storm moves back in on Monday. So hopefully some recovery can happen over the weekend. One interesting thing I want to talk about is where this series of thunderstorms and rainfall is coming from. If you remember from basically all the videos I've been making the last week about the major flooding and storms in the southeast, it was all kind of the same story. There was a low up in the northeast, and because of the circulation counterclockwise, it was just pulling up the moist, warm air from the Gulf of Mexico all the way basically from Louisiana up into Pennsylvania. Well, it's actually changed, and that's interesting to think about because so in yesterday's map, you can see, I don't know if you can see these wind streams on this map. Well, they're all coming down right now. In the past week and the week before that, when there was all the major flooding, all these wind streams were coming up. They're going from the Gulf of Mexico up through Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. And what that was doing was bringing in warm air, which then rises, which creates storms, which creates rain. Well, the story has actually changed for this next series of storms. You see, these winds are coming down, and it's more cold temperatures. In the past, these were all like yellows and oranges in here. Now you see the winds coming down, and it's colder temperatures, so we can't blame it on that warm air advection and rising motion. Well, it is still rising motion, as it turns out. An interesting little chemistry lesson. I'm hoping I haven't lost you already. Moist air is actually lighter than dry air. It has to do with the atomic weight of the elements. So if a parcel of air has a bunch of water in it, it's actually lighter. Very counterintuitive, I know. And stick with me here. As this air moves in, it's much drier than the air that it's replacing. Before, there was just a nice parcel of moist air over this whole region. As the dry air moves in, it pushes the moist air up. That's what this whole last minute or minute and a half was getting to. The dry air is moving in, and it's pushing the moist air up because, again, the moist air is actually less dense. Right. So we get that rising motion, which creates storms, which creates rain. But it's for a different reason than the storms have been the past week, week and a half, up to 2 weeks. I know that was a little sciencey and a little into chemistry, which I actually don't like that much. But hopefully you stuck through that, because now we're going to look at the possible snowstorm for North Carolina and Virginia. Here you can see they're getting some rain right now, and then it's going to clear out through Thursday. And then around Thursday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, see that bullseye of snow starting to move into parts of North Carolina and then northern North Carolina and Virginia by Friday night. Friday morning or Thursday night. And the big question here is, what are the temperatures going to be like? Because if it's too warm, obviously you're not going to get snow. Well, as it turns out, it would appear you are too warm. It shows, so this is the time when that bullseye of snow was coming in, and it's showing North Carolina, Virginia, you're at maybe 35, 36 degrees. So it makes you wonder, how could that snow be coming in at that exact same time? Well, it doesn't actually have to be freezing at the surface to get snow. Again, counterintuitive. But if you think about it, you go up maybe 100 meters, it would be freezing. So if there's enough snow to make it through that freezing layer, it can actually accumulate on the ground even if it's not freezing. We're getting very sciencey today. Hopefully you're learning something. So what are the totals expected? This is the Euro model. GFS is actually showing a little more. There's a bullseye of 5 to 8 inches in North Carolina on the GFS model. I don't really buy that because of that warm air, and because it's warm, even if it does hit the surface, it's probably going to melt pretty fast. So I think I'm going with the Euro model on this one. It's showing more moderate snowfall, probably 1 to 3 inches maximum throughout most of North Carolina and parts of southern Virginia. So that's kind of interesting. And the real reason driving that is this temperature. There's 2 things you're going to want to look at on this map. One, it's these purples moving into the Midwest and then eventually the Northeast. That's going to be really cold air, sub-zero, negative 35 wind chill. And then the other thing you're going to want to look at is this blue moving into North Carolina and Virginia, and the timing of that, because that's going to tell you how this snowstorm could turn out. So moving through, you see those purples really start moving into areas of Minnesota, Michigan, and then that blue starts to creep down towards Virginia and North Carolina. Well, by about Thursday afternoon, those purples have moved into the Northeast. It's going to be cold there, and the blue really hits again Friday at about 7 in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. that's when that snowstorm could be a possibility down there. And you see it's because this big trough pulling that cold air far south enough to make that snow possible. Moving up into the Midwest, let's take a look at the cold air as it moves through. Again, just wait. If you think the 2 to 4 degrees that you're seeing right now is cold, just wait as I click through a couple slides. Could be getting into -10, -12 in parts of Minnesota, Michigan. You're going to be freezing too, around 5 degrees. And that cold Arctic air is just basically going to move through the entire Midwest, bringing down even below freezing to basically the entire region is below freezing. And then that cold air is also going to move up into the Northeast. You guys don't have really any precipitation up there right now, so unfortunately there's not snow to go along with this cold air. Well, it's just going to be freezing. This is Friday at about 7 a.m. in the morning. Parts of Vermont, -16 degrees. New Hampshire, what can we find? -8 degrees. Maine, -7. Makes me happy I live in California. It's just a shame that there's not a little snow to go along with the storm, but hey, Friday is still 2 days out, so you never know what can happen. I'll keep you updated on what could happen, and if you like weather-related content and following what the weather's doing across the country, then subscribe to my channel because I post these kind of videos every single day. Thanks for watching.